You know, like I'm Midwestern through and through, everything about me, because I love the fact that there's still a middle class.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that, like,
the slower pace of life, the more friendly nature of people, the Midwestern charm,
you can walk
as
to
I
the
call
post
it.
office and get a
Yeah.
stamp right away. It takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I love it here.
Wow.
I do all my
Goodness, I love it.
stamps.
Just go buy some stamps. You know everybody. You see the same faces every day. It's really nice.
Where everybody knows your name.
Yeah, you know, when I'm driving to work in the morning, I wave at people on my way to work. It's wonderful. I love
Oh
it.
my
And bring
gosh,
the
I
fruit
love
salad
it.
to the potluck.
I love it. That's so
I
good.
used to
Wow.
I used to take care of this wonderful lady named Esther Stern. Actually, for a long time, all of my best friends were like 95-year-old Jewish women, and like I grew up on the North Shore of Chicago, and it was like, you know, that was just
Sounds
a
amazing.
wonderful.
My
part of it.
grandfather is a Chicago Jew.
Okay, so that's that exactly. So this is I grew up on the
Yeah.
North Shore.
The impression you just did was literally like to a T my grandma Helene. Not even a joke. Yeah.
I used to walk into her apartment, and I remember one day, like, she was always, you know, she always wanted to talk, and you know, you could, you know, when I was younger, you could go on the boardwalk and you could get coconut for 5 cents. It was delicious. But like I would walk in, I remember walking into her apartment one day, and she was like bereaved. And I hadn't seen her like that. You know, she had told me a lot of like deep stories about the Depression and you know, the loss of her sister.
Old Jewish women are hardened, especially East Coast Jewish
Oh
women.
yes, and I mean, this was like she had
callous.
lived through so much, and I walked in and I was like, oh no, Esther, like what's wrong? And she goes, they just fired the only female editor of the New York Times.
Jesus. Well, I mean, there you go.
That's
Be
rich.
sold.
There you have it.
That's rich.
I was
Yeah.
like, Esther, I love every ounce of your being. She was
Yeah.
my hero.
Never change, Esther.
No,
Never change.
she was my hero. She was the first city councilwoman of Winnetka. She helped get a community college built. I mean, she was like an amazing lady, and
That's
I looked
crazy.
up to her so much. But when my husband and I got divorced, I was going through a hard time. So like being around older ladies was really good. And she goes, you know what you need to do? And I was like,
Oh, God.
she goes, this is how he's gonna leave you alone. Get him another woman.
There you go.
He won't pay attention to you anymore.
That's hilarious.
I was like, that's actually the greatest advice I've ever heard.
Esther sounds like a hoot.
She's-
I want to drink with Esther.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Just like when your kid loses a goldfish, just get him another goldfish.
Is Esther still with
Just
us?
get another
Is she
one.
No,
around?
Esther isn't. Nope. I lost her and Harriet. Harriet used to, like, you could take Harriet to a Burger King and she'd be like, honey, the ambiance is beautiful. And, like, we would always, like, listen to old jazz music. And she would just sit in the car and we just had a blast. So,
That's
yeah.
alright.
I like, that's the part of, like, living in like, rural America that I miss is, like, just having all...
You don't get as many of the characters.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
You don't get the characters.
I love going home, and I will literally sit like in like just at the coffee shop all day long because I just want to watch the sea of life that like goes by. That to me is like
When
energizing.
And
When I'm
everybody's got a story.
I love people watching.
When I met my wife, Jamie,
My wife.
we both worked at Johnny Rockets, the 50s diner.
Yes.
If you've ever been to one, at Knott's Berry Farm, which is America's first theme park in Buena Park, California. And it was like a legit berry farm if you don't know about it. And then they like built an old Western town, or shipped, like deconstructed, moved, and rebuilt this old Western town, and it like evolved into a theme park. The restaurant was like the main restaurant. Johnny Rockets was in the back of the park, right in the center, in front of like this huge fountain area. And I had an option to be a host or a food and drink runner. And I was like, I did the food and drink running for a little bit, making shakes, and I hated getting all dirty. And then I went to being a host, and like I loved it. That was like one of the 2 funnest years of my life. Like I was going to school for automotive, and I was hosting at Johnny Rockets, and I would just sit in front of like this huge glass wall, basically looking out into a theme park. And like at some point, in everybody's day there, they're gonna walk by my restaurant, and I just sit there and people watch all day
the
long, and just
best.
like make up stories with my other friends that were hosting with me and stuff like that.
then
And,
you, like,
we would do
narrate
like
your
little
voices.
voices, yeah, man. It's just so much fun, man. Yeah.
That's how Bob Dylan wrote songs. He would
Yeah.
like just go to places and like imagine what that person wanted a song to be, you know? And that's like just having that window into the world where like you can look out, but like nobody can look.
Nobody knows.
That's a
yeah,
safe,
they're not
that's
seeing
a
you
safe like observation vantage point. Yeah.
for sure.
Have we even gotten to any of the questions?
No, you know what? I was actually going to ask you.
Natural.
I was going to actually ask.
That's how a natural podcast is.
I have a prompt.
right there.
Yes, look at this.
No, we don't need prompts. I want to
I have
shove
a
that prompt
prompt.
right where the prompts don't
I have a
shine.
prompt because I'm a good boy and I make notes and I plan for things. Scott?
You want a treat? Should we bring, like cookies
she-
for you?
Okay.
Has already said that she's interested in talking about ghosts.
I love ghosts. Oh my God, I could talk about the doll Dangles. You guys want to hear about Dangles?
No. Yes, I
Yes.
do. I don't
Yeah.
know why I said no.
110%.
I was going to ask about the arts, but Dangles is actually.
Dangles is amazing. And anytime you say Dangles, it has to be like Dangles.
Oh, I don't like
Okay.
that. No.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Just make
You
him
spook
as
me out.
yeah, absolutely freak him out.
When I moved to Cape, I lived off of Flint Hill, which is off of 177 at the very top of
That's
the
kind of out there, huh?
Bro, that place has wild energy. I've never had.
Where is that?
That's
Where we
Trail of
talking?
Tears, dude.
Yeah. So like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's not quite though. It's like it's still Cape, but it's the highest point in Cape, and that's where there used to be
I'm
like
the highest point.
Wow.
I just
Counter
kidding.
sticks.
Hey.
no, there used to be call towers because it was the highest point where like women could call out to their husbands on the boats and stuff like that as they were passing by. I used to have the most insane dreams up there, like just like
Bonkers.
primitive, wild, amazing stuff. And there were always animals everywhere, and but it was deeply haunted. It was built probably in like 1900, and so there was an old printing house, and there was a carriage house, and then there was the main house and a cabin. So the cabin, like when you would, they kept it exactly as it had been. And there was these weird old timey pictures on the wall that were just like added
Like the
to
bubble glass.
yeah, it's just yes. And there was like a creaky bed in the middle of this place. At night, you could just hear all the things. One day, we got curious when the owners were out of town because I would house sit. I lived in the carriage house, and I would house sit for the main house. And
So fancy. I lived in the carriage.
I know. It was like it literally looked like a hobbit house. Like the door looked like like you were entering.
Like the rounded top
Yes.
and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
cool.
We got curious and we were like going through the cabinets or whatever. And in the very top cabinet, there was this doll. And this doll looked like it had been singed. It had this black hair that went straight out and these long limbs. And we just like propped it on the end of the bed. I'm sure I have a picture.
Oh, please.
Yeah. Dangles was the most terrifying doll I've ever seen. It was terrifying.
It's a terrifying name.
Who
Yeah.
came up with the
I
name?
did, of course I did.
Yeah,
So,
right on.
so we
Naturally.
came up with this
Dangle.
backstory that like Dangles had been banished from that Baptist church that's on the corner. You know, she had
This
been
sounds like a movie.
right?
Yeah.
How's
And
this
she
not a
had to
movie?
like go run in the woods and live among the raccoons. And so she would just like, you know, like just eat.
Oh my God, do that again.
I'm so sorry.
on-
I just
right
thought
on
of Pauly
cue.
Shore numb, and I'm a weasel.
And I'm Louisa. You cheesing with
Oh.
Louisa, buddy.
Oh, buddy. Oh my God. That
Yeah.
was good.
So
was golden.
Dangles, I'm gonna have to. You guys, I will text you Dangles. But like once you get texted Dangles, like it doesn't.
Do you still have Dangles?
Why would
Who's
I?
in possession of the doll?
No,
Hey.
only Dangles possesses Dangles. She
So,
is
like-
self-possessed.
Okay, but you guys found the doll. You guys found the doll and like what?
She's like, I am my own person.
Yeah.
No one
I
owns
identify
me.
as Dangles and no one else.
I am Dangles and Dangles alone.
I legitimately want to know like where are they now? Like,
Yes.
what's the
Yes.
follow up? We need the follow up for
Oh,
Dangles.
she's in the she's in the woods.
Where's the? There's got to be the doll. Where the hell's the doll?
I don't know.
You,
See,
you
the-
had,
Did you
house-
leave it at the
no,
house?
but
you
the
had
house-
it last.
The house went under like new ownership.
Oh.
But you guys left the doll there, though.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
She didn't just pack it up and...
Well, I don't know. Did you guys like play with it or hang out with it like while you were while you were
No,
there?
We
because
wanna know
like
more.
in addition to Dangles, there was also Ghost Cat that lived on the property. And Ghost Cat.
Ghost Cat?
Yeah, Ghost Cat was real. So like at night, when you were like walking around this property, like it was like legit kind of like, oh, somebody's gonna murder me, because like there's just so many ways to get at you, you know.
What voice was that? Pat's like, I don't know.
It's definitely like, but like at night, you know, like I would have to go and let the house cat, you know, like take care of the house cat, and I would be like, I don't want to do this. This is terrifying. So this
I mean,
one
the house
night,
cat take care of the ghost cat?
Chris has a
No.
ghost cat. He had me feed his cats while he was on vacation, and I
Okay.
swear he swears there's a cat in this room. I don't know if you've been to his house or not, but when
No,
you come up
not on
the back,
purpose.
have you been to Snyder's?
I mean, they didn't know. What?
When you come up the back of the driveway, it like loops around the back of the house. You go through the gate and it comes around the garage up to the back of the house. There's like this sunroom off the back of the house. They have 2 outdoor cats that live in the tower. They call it the cat tower, but it's actually like a legit like proper like castle tower attached to their garage that these cats live in. They are not outside cats, like by the least, like of the term. They have a legit castle. But there's an indoor cat that I was responsible for feeding. And like, this is not a large room. It's all glass. You can see everywhere in the room, from inside the room and outside the room. There's nothing but like a couple of little cardboard box houses for a cat to hide in, a litter box and a food bowl. I
Okay.
would fill it up every day. And every day when I would come back, the bowl would be empty. I looked every day for like 4 days for this damn cat. I'm convinced there is no cat in that room. And I don't know how Chris like pulled this prank on me, but I do not believe that there is a cat in this room. And he had somebody like come and empty the bowls after or something because there's no cat. And he's like, no, it hides in the cardboard box. I'm like, I looked in every single cardboard box in this room.
I can see him saying that.
There's no
and just
cat.
gaslighting the shit out of you.
I don't know how he did it, but I'm convinced that he's pulling the wool over my eyes somehow.
where does Chris live?
North side.
Yeah, like that first neighborhood on Cape Rock, like to the right. He
I
lives in
mean,
Scott
that's
Rhodes'
not
old
far
house.
from Ghost
Yeah.
Cat, dude. That's
Really?
not far from the Ghost Cat neighborhood.
Oh my god!
The ghost cat
Dum,
travels.
dum. I'm just saying, Ghost Cat, legit.
That now needs
this
to
is
be
the
the-
next investigation video. To be
Also,
honest.
there was a house at the bottom of this hill off of Cape Rock.
There's always a house at the bottom of some damn hill.
Yep, and it was abandoned, and it was like cat orgies every night. I don't mean to get into this, but like it was like
Wait, do you mean at the bottom of Snake Hill
a lot
on the
of
left-hand
Yes!
side? It used to be like a wicker furniture place.
Yes!
That's right across from Patriot. So we're in Snyder's building right at Old Spring Street Road and Cape Rock, right at the bottom across the bridge. It's the building right across the street from us.
Cat
So,
orgies?
yes, it is.
I'm still stuck on that.
So go on.
I haven't moved
Skip
on.
over that.
Are you
No, you
friends?
can't just glaze over cat orgies.
This partially may be my fault. This may be partially my fault,
cat
and I will
orgies are your
I
fault?
will explain.
You're hosting,
Okay.
you're
How in the
hosting all the
shit-
cat
I am-
orgies.
Inquiring minds. I need another beer.
I need a shot. Like, what do you mean?
I may have a hand or a role to play in
The cat
in
orgies?
facilitating the cat orgies.
Holy sh!
Yeah, no,
I gotta know. I have to know now.
So when we first moved into the building in Patriot, there's a lean-to on the side of the building and like a side yard behind the gate, but old busted up gate, and we just stored a bunch of stuff back there. And I went back there to get some supplies one day because I was doing some stuff to our compressor system, and there was a bunch of kittens, and I was like, ooh, shop cats. So I was like, it's always good to have mousers around, you know, we're in the country. So I started feeding them, and I started building like winter shelters and stuff like that. And very soon, like very quickly, it became more cats. Like all the mom cats kept bringing their kittens and stuff like that. And so like one house and like a couple of
They have
feeders,
like,
like
an underground network. You got to be careful.
at one point there was probably like 8 cats like back there, like between kittens and adult cats that I was feeding and taking care of and like building shelters for and stuff. So they all like they feed in the creek bed, and like I was giving them more food, and then we're right up against a neighborhood back there too like I gave them a place behind this fence where like there's a lot of like roaming dogs down in that neighborhood. People in the country don't really keep their dogs fenced. I don't necessarily agree with all of that, but I live in the country too. It's a problem in my neighborhood. We're saying if you own pets, keep them in your yard, please.
Lock up your dogs.
Because my neighbors, dude, they have 2 like young
Keep 'em in your
pit
yard.
lab mixes, and it sucks because I have a pit lab mix, Bella. I love pit bulls. They're so sweet. But like they let these
and they're
dogs
tasty,
off
too.
leash. There's no invisible fence in their yard, and it bit 2 people. It bit my renter. My renter's mother was on their porch 5 doors down from my house, like sweeping off their daughter's porch or whatever. And my renter's mother and mother-in-law got freaking bit by my other neighbor's dogs.
Well, it like follows that the people who let their dogs run around are not like training their animals. You know what I mean? Like
No, they
that.
don't.
I mean, just period. You
give a
shouldn't
shit.
if your dogs aren't off leash changed. But
So,
so,
like-
I gave them shelter, and so like I definitely for sure contributed to
Yes.
the cat population in that neighborhood because I tried trapping some of them. My wife works in vet med. She works at Dogwood, but it was like after the first couple of kittens, it just became like very
No, it's like-
apparent. I can't do this like for
Yeah.
all of these cats.
Yeah.
So
Wait,
So
wait.
here's your
question.
random-
How long has she worked at Dogwood?
almost probably a little over 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, she started working there the first year we lived here. She didn't work for probably like the first 6 or 7 months that we lived here. She was just like getting the house together and, you know, setting
Well-
everything up.
They really.
Did you know that you can't
Rowan.
eat red Jello before a colonoscopy?
Yes.
What? Specifically red?
Yes. Because the food dye.
It looks like blood.
Oh,
Yeah, they specifically say that.
that's a fun factoid.
You've already had your scope done.
Yeah. Well, it was an upper endoscopy. They
Oh,
they went
they
in
went
through.
in.
They went
That's
in this
an
way, bud.
easy one.
Yeah.
I went in. They went in both sides. I felt like
I was like, speak.
Did your body take a screenshot?
yeah, like a Chinese finger trap. Jesus.
The doctor's like, what is happening right now? Like, what are the moments that just make you rethink your practice?
Yep.
Matt?
They just had me hanging up above the bed. I got one in and one in the other. I'm levitating.
No, I was waking up from the anesthesia and
I'm sorry,
I-
the screenshot was that was amazing.
I was waking up from anesthesia.
How does my body take a screenshot?
like that? That's
That exact motion.
don't even need to explain it. I'm pretty sure they get it. Yeah. Is it 2 separate procedures, or do they go in at the same time? Do they
I
meet
have
in
no
the middle?
idea. I was out just like you.
They
I
go
don't
in at the
remember
same
anything.
time, and
Yeah.
you wake up and you're like, what?
No, I woke up and they were like, "Hi, we've
feel
been trying to reach you about
violated.
your car's extended warranty."
Yeah. Why does this? Yeah.
It's
why
free
does,
real estate.
Why does it smell like lube and bad choices?
Yeah. No, actually, it was even more terrifying. My mom was sitting there, and she was like, "Do you have a minute?" I'm in the middle of helping my mom buy a house, and this is not even like hyperbole. This is 100% truthful. Like, my wife had to work. She got, I guess, like all the times I told her the month leading up to my procedure, didn't confirm it for her. I forgot to tell her like 2 weeks before or a week before, so she didn't take the day off. So yeah, I was lucky enough to have my mother, who I love you, Mom. Thank you.
My mom went with me too because
yeah,
my wife had to work.
To come and pick me up. But like I'm waking up and it's literally like my mom, within the first 60 seconds she wants to talk about the house that she's in. And I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Like, you know what I mean?
I just feel like I've been violated, and you want to talk about a house?
Poor timing, you know?
I woke up and my friend was the nurse, and I started singing, you know that song, I want a hippopotamus for, but I started going, I want a colonoscopy for Christmas. Just like, what?
Jesus.
Oh man.
Well,
yeah,
they
they gave me the
used-
Michael Jackson stuff. They gave me the propofol.
Oh,
They gave me.
good. Yeah.
They gave me
what?
some
Where'd
new.
you go? Where'd you go?
Mercy, right down the street here.
I went to Modelt.
I went to Mercy.
what?
Actually, I did go to Mercy, and they were playing Lord before mine. This was like a month ago, and it was like,
Oh, see, I didn't get
I'd
to.
never seen
That
a
seems
diamond
very
in and all of a sudden the medication started working. It was like,
Yeah.
odd. They hit me
That was-
and they were like, okay, you're gonna.
be royal.
You just wake up and they're still mid song.
yeah.
Like, where the hell am I?
They hit me and they were like, okay, you're gonna start feeling it, like, you know, it's done. And like they had me roll on my side, so like I didn't even see them do it because like they're kind of like behind me, you know. They're like, okay, it's done, like you're gonna feel it pretty soon. And I'm like, oh, that's surprising, dude. That I must have a high tolerance because that doesn't feel like that was the last thing I remember, man. And I was waking up to my mom, just like, hey, do you have a minute to talk about your car's extended warranty?
Like, Mom, it is not the time.
Yeah.
They always tell you that like being preventative, like, get a colonoscopy, get, your PAP, do all this. And you're like, okay, I'll go do that. And then they're like, no, you're not, this is not,
You don't
insurance is
qualify,
not
your
going to
insurance won't cover it.
Right.
Unless you say,
Prior
yep, I've been
authorization
bleeding.
bullshit.
Like you just have to say that you're bleeding from every orifice
Hey,
of your
doc,
body.
I've
and
got this
you'll
thing
get
on my
Or-
noose.
Or, and since I worked at a hospital as a workflow analyst, you walk in and you say 2 words. You will stop the ER and dead in their tracks. Chest pain.
Oh, constantly.
No, that was
They will stop everything they're doing for you.
that's what happened when I went to
That makes
I just went to urgent care at Mo Delta because I was having like heart palpitations and it was getting to a point where I was like, this isn't normal. And I was like, I want to make sure I'm not having a heart attack or something like that. And I literally walk in and she's like, so how can I help you? And I was like, chest pain, irregular heart rhythm. And she was like, okay.
Yeah, I'm
Wrote
going to
some-
try and not panic right now.
Wrote some things down and said, so how long has this been going on? And I'm like,
Yeah.
a day or two. And she was just like, okay, sit down. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Sat down for 2 minutes.
Since COVID.
And they were like, get back in there.
Yep.
Since COVID started, 3 times, twice in California, once here in Missouri, I've had to call the ambulance, having anxiety attacks. Went into sinus tachycardia, basically just a hyper panic attack.
And what causes that?
For me, I can tell you 150%, like the 2 times in California, it was like the very beginning of the pandemic. And it was like, nobody knew what it was. And I was like genuinely terrified, like really, really scared. It wasn't until I moved out here and saw like, oh, the rest of the world is open. Nobody cares about this. You know what I mean? No, really.
I know,
Like, genuinely.
Everybody in Missouri was like,
It was a bubble,
Yeah,
man.
everyone in Missouri did not care.
And
my God.
really, like, I've always suffered from anxiety. You know, I'm highly ADHD, highly obsessive compulsive. Been diagnosed since I was in, pre-first grade.
are you medicated?
I was from first grade until 7th grade. I was in multiple studies at UCLA and at different like child development centers. My mom was a very, very like forward kind of developmental teacher as far as like, psychology and like customized like approach with each individual child for how they learn.
Well, ADHD medicine's coming.
Well, and I had
way.
my mom had depressive issues and ADD, and I had another of the 3 boys, me and my 2 brothers. My other brother Kenny, the oldest brother, was also ADD, and so like we took part in like a long-term study that I actually just did a follow-up to like 24 years later, where they were like checking to see if like ADD and like obsessive compulsiveness and things like that are hereditary. But I went in to like be like studied for years, like over a period of years at UCLA, regarding it. But yeah, I was on meds for a long time. And then in middle school, I was introduced to something that worked better. My mom was an old hippie. She understood. She didn't like it at all. It was like, yeah.
It's probably legal now, isn't it?
It's very legal now, yeah. But yeah, when I was probably in about 7th grade, I stopped taking the Adderall and stuff because I didn't, it made me like, it really made me hyper focused and like I did better in school and stuff. But it would also just make me so edgy and aggravated and like hyper focused into something. And then somebody would interrupt me and I would snap. Like I yelled at my dad for moving my curtains.
I felt that
in my bedroom. You know what I mean?
But did you feel, because I am ADHD and I took Adderall for a long time, and I felt like it made me it was like the first time like all of this was like a single line of focus. Like, you were like, oh my
100%.
gosh, I
Crazy.
can achieve. I lost like
me. Yeah, you lose yourself.
in the effort to be overly perfectionistic. All of a sudden I was excelling by the world's standards, and it required that I suppressed so much of me.
100%. I definitely think so. Like, like retrospectively, I don't think I realized that as a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like even still to this day, there's like a bunch of light bulb moments that I have that I'm just like, whoa, like, and put things into perspective. Like for a long time, I never really thought about like the effects that the Adderall had on me, other than like it allowed me to do better at school. And that was the thing that everybody got on me for, at least the adults in my life. So if that thing was fixed, then fine, like whatever, you know what I mean? I'll just do that. But cannabis worked better, you know?
And I did have a question like leading to that. Did you stop taking Adderall?
Yeah.
So how do you feel like that really affected? Because I was just thinking about like from like an artistic standpoint, because there may be where you look at a project and it's like it's better to be focused, but it's kind of tampering the creative flow to not have your brain just kind of do it at once.
Can we both answer this question?
Yeah. So like, how did that affect? Do you feel like were you still doing your like creative arts through that process?
So as a writer, it was fantastic. As a writer, it helped me organize research thoughts. It helped me
like zero in on stuff.
Yeah, and write for long periods of time where I could like literally just be dedicated to the craft. As a visual artist, my visual art was non-existent.
Droney. It just like, yeah.
And part of that too is that like, I think that, you know, there is a part of my brain that is like hyper logical and OCD and like, I need like structures to everything, but it's also like really masculine. And I have to operate in this like masculine architecture. And if I do that too much, I lose my sensitivity. I lose my intuition. I lose these parts of myself that, you know, we're all both. We all have like both energies. And like for me, when I can operate in like the, you know, what you would call, not that like logic is just relegated to men. That's not, you know, but like that's typically when you're looking at the characteristics, like the feminine side is passive, intuitive, lunar, you know, introspective, whereas the masculine is, you know, outer, solar and is outward facing.
That's a really good description. I like that.
Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah.
And so like a lot of the times, like for my job right now, so much of it is organization, structure, logic, outward facing, but like who I am like at home and who I want to be is like quiet and contemplative and intuitive and receptive. It didn't allow me to do that. It forced me to produce.
Yeah.
And that like, and at a pace which is untenable to your nervous
not sustainable.
System. It doesn't work.
You can definitely burn yourself out. That's
for sure.
Yeah. And it's meth.
Yeah.
It says on your prescription bottle, methamphetamine.
Yeah.
And so it's like that to me.
It's missing it's like methyl diol something. It's like missing one component.
Methylphenidate.
Yeah, of being methamphetamines. But that's actually, I honestly like kind of.
Meth was not an illegal drug until recently when it got abused.
Bring back meth.
I mean, meth was around in the 70s and it was being prescribed.
Yeah.
So
we're Mother's Little Helpers.
Could you imagine being like an old timey doctor? Like how much fun Doc, I've got a headache. Take some cocaine and laudanum. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it should fix it right up.
Yeah, cocaine, laudanum. What else?
Morphine.
The 1900s seemed fun.
They did.
Let's just give them lithium.
Yeah.
What are you all doing?
Mercury.
But I had like a eerily
I don't think they ever gave anybody mercury.
Back historically speaking, like people did treat themselves for various ailments with mercury.
Check this out.
Experimented with for millennia.
I don't know if you watch Ancient Aliens or not. It's a fantastic
Resident
show.
Alien?
That's a fantastic show too.
Okay, that's an amazing
I love
show.
that show with like all my heart. I love him in general, just seeing him act.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name right now, but
we'll put his face right here.
Yeah, Resident Alien on Netflix is just a quirky, fun show.
Have you seen that?
Where he comes and replaces a doctor in this rural town in like the north. Where are they?
It's
Colorado.
Like a small town in Colorado.
Yeah.
Alien crashes or whatever.
An actual alien crashes, and he takes the body the human shape of this
the only doctor
the
in
only
town.
doctor in town.
And so he's like forced to run like this small town like doctor's clinic or whatever.
It's the
and he's
premise
just
is already
awkward.
funny.
That's
It's
really
so
great.
great.
Yeah,
That's great.
And then, so I digress, but in the show Ancient Aliens, and it's kind of morphed and changed over the years. It's been out for
Yeah,
Is that the
I've
Greek
seen a
guy with
couple
the huge
episodes.
hair?
yeah, that's George.
George, yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the producers of the show.
Okay.
So they did find recently archaeologists discovered ruins down in South America. I don't remember where. Don't get me lying here, but they have found traces of mercury in little canals that they had made. Now, why in the world would an ancient civilization be using mercury? Baghdad batteries, have you heard of those?
No.
Baghdad batteries were pottery that they found in and around the ziggurat of Ur, which is where...
Yeah, I know about it.
Okay.
I know about the ziggurat of Ur. Of course I do.
Yeah, I've been there, which is
You
kinda
have?
neat. Yeah. Anyway, ziggurat, what's up? Anyway, they were these pottery. They had found copper down inside and sulfuric acid that was still etched in the sides of the pottery and wires coming out of it. So the question that they posed was not the right one. They were like, well, how did they make batteries? That's not the right question.
No.
Why did they make, what were they powering?
Yeah.
What did they need a battery for?
Yep.
Not how did they make it, but they had to have had something that they needed to power.
But
which is
this is
insane.
also like kind of that question of like where like sometimes scientists can't see the forest or for the trees, where like a sociologist would be like, whoa, this is a much different question, or a historian, right? So like the scientist is like, we have, sulfuric acid here, and you're like just like looking at these component parts, and then all of a sudden like somebody's like, yeah, but like where's the other?
Why?
But why?
I want to know why.
Like it's like sometimes I like it's like how I guide the energy. Okay, so like I was in
You're
like
an energy-
Babylon.
Yeah, 1.7 billion years ago, so this is from bigthink.com, Earth had a natural nuclear reactor. So, like, there's traces of, I guess when you...
Melted rock.
Well, it's not just melted rock, no. It's when you create nuclear fission, you have to, like, refine the uranium, not just, like, any...
How did the Earth
raw
do that?
uranium will do that. Well, they find traces of U-235. So it says...
You two started.
Goddamn Bono.
The first nuclear reactor.
So like Bono was like the first.
Bono was a nuclear physicist.
His music is nuclear.
Yeah, it says
In
so.
my
The naturally occurring isotope is U-238 and U-235. The difference is the amount of neutrons. So it says changing the
Probably
number of
3
neutrons
less.
doesn't change your element type, but it does change how stable the element is. They both decay via radioactive chain reaction, but U-238 lives about 6 times as long on average.
If you put them on meds, would they be more stable? I'm just asking for.
Put them on Adderall. Put them on Adderall.
Just
They need to be focused.
fuck us.
Focus.
Focus.
Focus. No, I'm just kidding.
You gotta put that in.
That was
Just
That
freaking
was-
voguing music.
one of my favorite music videos growing up.
You're gonna get mad at me
Yeah.
because I hit my microphone.
Because she did the like. Whoa.
Because I thought that her top was see through. Oh, we're seeing Madonna's
Isn't it just
boobies.
cones though?
No, that was on stage for the MTV
What was
Music
with
Awards.
the cone bras?
That
Like
was
of the
I don't
60s
know,
and
dude. I
70s?
They
wasn't alive
actually
then.
had like a battery charge from ancient Babylonia.
But what are they powering?
Oh my goodness!
Titty power.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
But why?
But
Why?
Why don't we get into some rapid fire questions?
Okay.
Should I do it in Esta's voice? No, I'm just kidding. Would you rather spend the night in a haunted museum or have to critique a painting made by a ghost?
Oh my gosh, ghost painting.
Ghost painting. Okay.
Ghost painting, absolutely.
Okay, then this leads me to my next question. Okay, so what medium would a ghost use to create art?
Definitely watercolor.
Watercolor.
Yep.
Okay.
Because it's already ghosty. It already like does something on its own, and it's like a medium. Like water transfers energy really well. So
Okay. If you could have a famous historical artist as a ghost roommate, who would you pick and why?
Oh,
That would be
like not Picasso because Picasso was a dick.
Okay.
Picasso was just, and he would like cheat on everyone. So like I just no thanks Picasso.
I think that
Well, he's just your roommate. This is platonic. You didn't say
Not
your
with Picasso.
boyfriend.
Do you know how many lovers he had? I would go into it being like, this is gonna be platonic and not. With
You would gaslight and
Yeah.
destroy.
Picasso didn't die that long ago. He just died in
He'd
the
be like,
70s.
but babe, I only have 1 ear.
Like, dude had a driver's license and owned a car. People think that he was.
I know. Yeah, that's true. It seems like it's really
Wait, no,
long
I'm
ago.
thinking of Van
That's
Gogh.
so weird.
I just said 1 ear.
Yeah, that's Van Gogh.
Huh?
I would love.
So stupid.
Yeah.
Listen,
Michelangelo?
I was in and around where Van
Isn't
Gogh.
that a Ninja Turtle?
Yes.
I was in and around where Van Gogh lived over in Europe, and I can see where he got a lot of his inspiration. Starry Night and whatever else. He was obviously one of the most magical impressionist artists of the era, but I think that
I think he was
stealing
the
her
impressionist
question.
artist of the era.
Well, there's a lot more than just Van Gogh, but he's the most famous, obviously, for that movement. But I mean, maybe like a Michelangelo, because Sistine Chapel. I mean, some of the things that he was able to do.
I'm like, bro, I will pay like 6 months rent if you paint the ceiling.
But
Like if you're
here's
my
the
roommate,
thing.
I will pay if you
But
paint
here's
the
the
ceiling.
thing: he was made to do that.
Yeah.
He wasn't like, I mean, he was paid, but I mean, he was under duress to finish it.
God, I can't imagine.
Could you imagine laying on your back on
No, I
on
can't.
scaffolding thousands of years ago, whatever the scaffolding back then looked like? Like that that was a hazardous job.
No, but I think like Da Vinci would have been more interesting
Oh yeah,
just because like
just his book and the
The-
way his brain worked.
and how much he journaled and like how much
Da Vinci was a thinker though. He was
yeah,
just
that's
an artist.
That's
Yeah.
why like I think I would rather have Da Vinci as a roommate is like just seeing how he like constantly created. I think that would have been
That would be so
so
cool.
And see,
Really.
he's
Yeah, Da
also
Vinci's a
been
cool
known
one.
to. Da Vinci was also known to be just walking around in the streets in Italy and just striking up conversation
Yeah.
with anyone.
Yes.
He wanted to know everyone's
Yes.
story.
And I just want to say for the record, if you would have chose Michelangelo, I probably would have been in agreement, but just because he crushes pizzas. And I love crushing pizzas.
It would have been one of the teenage Mutant Ninja.
Splinter.
I mean, but like if you look at it from that aspect of how he was going about things, what better way to learn than to ask for people's life experience?
Yeah.
What better way
Yes.
to pick
Well,
up
especially back then, there wasn't no internet, there wasn't no Google or nothing like that.
Yeah,
There was
that's-
barely books. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's how you're
right.
getting all of your information.
Yeah, exactly. The Gutenberg hadn't happened yet, so
Yeah.
yeah.
He was famous for saying, and this is some of the lore that I learned when I was over in Europe. He was famous. He was famous for saying, or people learned from him. You don't learn in the studio. You learn out there.
Right. Right. And I think that part of it, like you are who you surround yourself with. You know?
And especially for someone that's an inventor, I mean, what better way to just know the problems that you could help solve and think of an idea of how to do it than talking to the common folk?
Right.
Right. And what is the problem? So like one of the great things about Da Vinci is that like he was a design-based learner before, you know, Stanford pioneered that shit. So like he like was trying to figure out like with design-based learning, you're starting with the problem. And then you're backwards designing, so there's the problem. You try to develop prototypes. You test the prototype, and then based on whether or not the prototype works,
You basically move fast and break shit.
yeah,
It's the Elon Musk theory. It's kind of it. I mean, yeah, you prototype until it works.
yeah,
You know what I mean? You
but
just
like
move
you don't
fast and you
use
break
like
stuff.
like humans to test, maybe. Like you don't, yeah.
Yeah. Or animals, for that matter,
Yeah.
to be honest.
So
That's-
here's a quick story.
Hold on,
'cause
rapid fire,
Hold on.
rapid
Hold on. I got this is interesting. Trust me.
Slow your fire.
Yeah. One of my dad's best friends. I like talking about my dad. Sorry. One of my dad's best friends worked and lived in and around DC. He's actually You mentioned Steven Seagal was his neighbor for a short time.
Heck yeah.
He owned. This gentleman owned MITRE, MITRE. You can look that up, and CAST, which is CAASD. That's the Center for Advanced Avionics, or whatever it stands for. They're the ones that invented the 5-mile gap whenever you're coming in to land. So they invented that. MITRE is a company that hires nothing but people with advanced degrees. We're talking PhDs, doctorates. They are a think tank. So imagine that we are a think tank. We are presented by the DoD with a problem. Problem comes in. We sit down as a collective and come up with a solution. He has several of those working pods of super smart people that come up with independent variations of solving said problem. And then the DoD will say, okay, McDonnell Douglas or whomever, Northrop Grumman will come in and say, we'll bid on that and we'll fix it using their solution.
That's correct.
I have no idea how you come up with a company that does that.
That's crazy. Crazy.
That is like, I mean, that's how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you also, like, there's a little bit of a, like, ivory tower kind of colonialist thing about that too, which is, I mean, that's the only problem with it, is like, it's so intellectual and so heady that the practical application often is just looking at who the beneficiary is of those things.
Sure,
you know?
absolutely.
And so it's like, you know, you can have all these think tanks, and a lot of the times that's like the problem with how the government goes about things, is like, you have all of these people who are highly trained. They go to Harvard, they go to MIT, they go to all these places. And it becomes almost incestuous, the types of thought
Well,
that
also
run
don't
through these.
confuse education with intelligence.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just because these people went to Harvard doesn't mean nothing. I worked in the air and gas industry as like a lowly service technician and then a service manager. And like we worked for Rocketdyne and General Dynamics and Jet Propulsion Laboratories and Virgin Space, like Virgin Galactic. Like there were legit rocket scientists calling me to fix their
What about
problems.
Cyberdyne?
So-
you work for Cyberdyne?
Interesting.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
never confuse education with intelligence.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people that are experts or 20 years in the field, not worth.
Yeah, well, you said it. Getting back to what you were saying about experts and professionals, we may be considered in the paranormal field. We may be considered professionals just because we may be getting paid for what we do, which is rare. But there are no experts in our field of study.
Yeah.
There is no parapsychology degree that you can get.
Yeah.
There is no. Now, I mean, if you want to think of Ed and Lorraine Warren of Conjuring fame, think of a 100-story building, they would be in the penthouse.
Yeah.
I mean,
You can get coached, but there's no like school or like vocational training to it. Yeah.
we're working on
I
it.
get it. Yeah.
We are working on some kind of curriculum, but that we do. It's a revolving. The American Ghost Project is a revolving door, and a good example of other paranormal investigative teams out there where things happen and people get let go.
Yeah.
Because if you've got skeletons in the closet, pun intended,
We're looking for them.
they will find them and they will expose you.
Mm-hmm.
And in ways that you did not think that you can't hide.
Yep. Yep.
I'm not saying you got to be a perfect person to do what we do, because I am far from that. But I tell you what, if you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing, they will expose you for it.
Dangles.
All right. So what's your favorite spooky or surreal painting?
I mean, Goya did a lot of stuff.
Ooh.
Goya.
The later stuff, like all the
Yeah.
black and white stuff that he did.
Yeah,
Okay.
Goya was really known for that, like, kind of.
It was all war.
Yeah, and you know, like, it never gets like, it never feels like it gets to the light that like Renaissance painting was elevated to, where like
Yeah.
you can see that, like, in the contrast there's this elevation of form. There's a Francisco de Zurbaran did a painting of Christ that was at the Art Institute of Chicago, and it's the crucifixion of Christ, and I wept. I could not like look at this painting and not like like feel the weight of all of my humanity.
Yeah.
But it's like when you experience a spirit that you're like,
Yeah.
Yep, been there, done that.
Yeah.
yeah. But like
It
was
evoked something
it was
different.
it was an evocative thing that like I feel like that was probably one of the creepiest moments I had with art.
Crazy. Well, Kelly, I gotta thank you so much for being here.
Thank you
It's
for
been
having
such a
me.
fun
It's
time
been
chatting
really fun.
and stuff like that. Do you have anything that you want to plug? Any events coming up with the Arts Council? You guys' website? How people can find you?
Yes. We are moving to Scout Hall. We are opening up April 1st. So everybody can come out to First Friday. We're going to have a big First Friday opening in June. You guys are going to join us for that. So we'll have some
very excited
exhibitions
for
over
that.
here.
It's going to be very exciting.
So that's going to be a rager because that's going to start our I'm So Local show and really bring First Friday back. And we want everybody to
Sweet.
just start.
loco.
I'm so loco. But I feel like that's great because it's going to bring everyone together and everyone's got talents and weird things that they can bring to the party. So we all just want to hang
It's
out
gonna be
together.
fun.
Everyone's invited. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. And what's your guys' website so everybody out there can find you?
It is www.capearts.org.
You have a radio voice.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
my NPR voice.
It's so good. Awesome. Kelly, thank you.
Absolutely. This is Scott Poole at the American Ghost Project, and
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
with my trusty sidekick, Rowan Wynter,
Bye.
Why?
saying
Later.
good nights.
Good night. Oh my goodness.